Look, there's an ichneum. I can't believe it.
Oh,
Isn't
wow.
that fantastic?
Look
I know
at
it's
that.
planted itself.
Yeah. And you know what? I just spotted a California poppy
No
over
way,
there.
really?
Yep.
I love these California poppies, especially the ones from the coast.
And we are going to be planting a lot of these.
We're out on the tunnel tops. We're actually in a spot that's going to be a new overlook that will introduce you to the story of how the park was created.
So the site is going to extend all the way from Lincoln and over to that fence, all the way across and back to this building. It's going to be a site with amazing 360-degree views of the city, the Presidio Hills, and the bay, and of course the bridge. The Presidio is a really interesting place. It's a cultural landscape, and it's also a biodiversity hotspot at the heart of a major metropolitan area. So what better context to bring kids and people in touch with nature?
For over 80 years, Doyle Drive split the Presidio in two. Doyle Drive is the approach to the Golden Gate Bridge, and it was built when this was an Army base, and of course the Army didn't want the traffic leading to the Golden Gate Bridge to get in the way of their activities here in the post. So they elevated the road, and the road really cut the park in two. It created this mindset of these being sort of Crissy Field being one place and the Presidio being another place. What the reconstruction of Doyle Drive does is it allows us to reconnect that incredible waterfront with the whole interior of the Presidio. And the primary way that that's going to happen is at the tunnel tops and the Quartermaster Reach sites. The Quartermaster Reach site creates an opportunity for us to restore 7 acres of wetland that will connect the marsh at Crissy Field to the restored Tennessee Hollow watershed. So that allows us to build this really critical connection between the upland areas and the bay. So it's a connection under the road. Then over the road, the Presidio tunnel tops allows us to add 14 acres of new park to the Presidio at a really important spot, right where we hope every visitor will begin their experience.
This is exactly what you're going to see here. You'll have an overlook here with a big bench and incredible views of the Golden Gate Bridge and the historic buildings beyond.
It's such an amazing piece of land. It's a platform over the tunnels that juts out into the view of the bay, the downtown skyline, and the Golden Gate.
From this spot, you'll have incredible views of the bay. There'll be a new planted area with an overlook behind it. There'll be a series of benches where young people can sit with their families, and you'll have panoramic views of the bay.
In every national park, there's that moment where you understand the ecological and historical significance of a site. It's next to our visitor center and our transit center. It connects Crissy Field and the main post, but it also creates that spot where you will get the most panoramic views of the Golden Gate Bridge, the bay, and the downtown skyline. The Tunnel Top project is not only a great opportunity to welcome the public in a new way, it's a great opportunity for us to put forth a vision for how to reimagine the landscapes of our cities in more ecological ways. One of the really interesting things about managing the ecology of the Presidio is this mosaic of landscape types interwoven with each other. We're always thinking about the benefits of those landscapes to the overall goal of making a more biodiverse Presidio.
We have 3 zones in the park: the native plant community zone, the historic forest, and the designed landscapes. At the site of Tunnel Tops, we're connecting the dunes, the coastal bluff, the coastal woodland, all the way to the historic landscape of the main post.
Wildlife don't understand the difference between these different landscape zones. We have to be sure that we create the kind of connectivity in the landscape so that they can move freely back and forth. Because of where it sits, it creates a really critical link between the upland areas of the Presidio and the wild areas at Crissy Field. And so we want to create a landscape that will function as a wildlife corridor, so that wildlife that are coming from the upland areas can actually connect down to the marsh and the northern waterfront. The Presidio, it's a really important reservoir of biodiversity. The community has played a really critical role by supporting our native plant nursery so that we can protect the genetic integrity of these relic natural species that live here in the park.
Because the Tunnel Tops project is so significant, we're growing about 100,000 native plants for this project. It not only highlights how beneficial native plants are for wildlife and pollinators, it also really highlights the inherent beauty of native plants.
The native plants are part of our ecology. They're very important for habitat. They're also very drought tolerant. Examples of the native plants are California lilac, toyon, beach strawberry.
All of the 100,000 plants that we're growing are going to be propagated at our 4 nursery sites. The seeds will be sown there, the plants will be transplanted, and the plants will be cared for until they're mature enough to go out into the landscape. So plants that began as seeds collected by staff and volunteers out in the field, out here in the Presidio, will end up going back to the Presidio in the Tunnel Tops landscape. My hope is that people connect to seeds or plants in the nurseries, or they'll connect to this place and connect to themselves and connect to each other in this new landscape.
We're designing a landscape that supports our mission to bring ecological awareness. The Chrissy Youth Campus is a 2-acre nature play area called the Outpost, where children will be immersed in an undulating landscape of native plants. And at the same time, there are areas that are for play, because kids learn best when they're playing. We're actually on the tunnels right now, and beyond the ridge is going to be the youth campus, which has the 3 buildings. You can see one of them, the historic building here. And then all the rest of it, almost 2 acres, is the Outpost, the nature play area where kids can just be fully immersed in nature. All of the materials that we're using in the Outpost are natural. Kids will really feel like they're in nature.
There's going to be a campfire circle, there's going to be picnic tables and barbecue pits. We get about 7.5 million visitors a year, and we want the park to continue to be a place that the public can come and enjoy.
People nowadays are so stressed, so bringing people into nature can bring some relief. And then I also see a lot of optimism when you bring youth into that.
There are solutions to the challenges that we face that are out of the box. We need to break down this old 19th century dichotomy between nature and culture and really think of the whole planet as a garden, and ask ourselves how, in the same way that we want to be good stewards of our garden, can we be good stewards of the planet? We have these landscapes that live at the intersection of nature and culture and embrace both sets of values. Parks like the Presidio give us all hope that we can imagine a better tomorrow for our planet.